Well, guess what? You know, Donald Trump had him a big old rally up there at Madison Square Garden the other night. And everywhere you go on X today, you got all of these people from the main lamestream media up there talking about how it was a hate rally and it was the Nazi this and Nazi that. You know, that's the first dang Nazi rally I ever heard of that had Jews, Hispanics, black people, and white people there all together. That is the most, what do you call it? The most inclusive Nazi rally I've ever heard of. They got so much diversity, they just bursting at the seams. You got a man from India standing up there talking. You got black people standing up there talking. You got Jewish people standing up there talking. I mean, come on now. Come on now. And Muslims too. They're the most diverse bunch of Nazis I've ever heard of. Come on. Come on now. You know, they want to talk about something a comedian said, acting like it was something racist. That man was making a reference to the fact that the democratically elected Democrat Party governor of Puerto Rico has caused an ecological disaster where the EPA is being asked to step in because there's over a mile of garbage piled up in one of the landfills there. That's what the man was talking about. He wasn't talking about the people. He was talking about literal garbage, and the media damn well knows it. Come on. And then, if that wasn't bad enough, you want to talk about Nazi rallies at Madison Square Garden? Well. In 1924, they had a Democratic National Convention there. Of course, it was at the original Madison Square Garden, not the one that's there now. But they had hundreds of Ku Klux Klan members that were delegates. And then they want to come trotting out, well, at least they put it on their thing to make it where they denounced the KKK. Well, it didn't pass. That was in 1924, by the way. They put it on there that they didn't want the KKK in their party, but it didn't pass. Well, the Republicans didn't put it on there as a plank of their... No, they didn't, because they didn't have none in their party. They were the ones electing black people. You remember they was the party that was made to abolish slavery. And they elected black people back in the 1800s. These people lie more than anybody I've ever seen. I'm at a loss sometimes about how to deal with it, that they lie so much. And they mark themselves. I mean, the chyrons on every one of the ones that you looked at that was, broadcast TV or even cable news was talking all kind of madness, saying it was racist and Nazi and hate. And no, it wasn't. And that's what they're scared of, see? That's what they're afraid of. The main thing that they're desperately afraid that people are going to find out is that Obama dropped more bombs than Bush did. That's right, I said it. He dropped more bombs than Bush did. He gave Citibank everything they wanted during the subprime mortgage crash, bailed them out, and they got every person they wanted on his cabinet. WikiLeaks leaked all that out, and that's when they decided Julian Assange had to die. Yeah, that's right. Hillary Clinton and what's his name? Mike Pompeo. Both of them made plans to assassinate Julian Assange. That's murder. You can't be having federal elected officials murdering American citizens with no trial. Or any citizens, for that matter. I don't even know if that man was an American. I don't think he was an American citizen, but you still can't just be going around murdering people with no trial. For being a journalist, These are the most, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a word here that I'm searching for, because vile don't cover it. These are the most amoral, intellectually dishonest people on the face of the planet. And then just to add icing to the cake, I ran across a little article here. 158 Dems vote against bill to deport illegal immigrants who commit sex crimes. How about that? Does that shock you? I had to be honest, it shocked me, and I know how dang wicked they are. I mean, literally, they voted against a bill to deport illegal immigrants who commit sex crimes. Now, we all know they ain't gonna deport no illegals. That's just plain, because that's their new voting base. But the ones that have committed sex crimes, especially against American citizens, you can't find it in your little flinty heart to deport them. They hate us, and they want us gone. That's why they're bringing all these other people that they think they can control in. Everybody better wise up, understand these people are the enemy within. Trump's right. These are the enemy within. These people working for the media companies, these corporate media companies, and these politicians. I'm going to tell y'all a little something. And I know that this is going to be hard to take, because it was darn sure hard for me to take. There's a thing that was loosely referred to as a CAFR, which is a comprehensive annual financial report. After World War II, when there was an emergency act signed in 1947, a national emergency, that empowered them to create the CIA, the Air Force, and basically all the other alphabet soup agencies. I'm going to explain something. After 1947, when a national emergency was declared, where they could make the CIA and all that other stuff, they did another thing that they don't talk about. That was when they decided to start using mob-style bookkeeping. They have the books that everybody knows about out front, where it talks about the budget. What it don't talk about is the other money, all the other money. Alaska is the only state that actually does what they're supposed to do by law. All the money that the government receives off of leasing out our land, not their land. The government's not allowed to own land the way they claim they do. It's the land of the people. Well, you'll notice they do what they call mineral leases on that land. Yeah, mineral leases. That's where they go sink oil wells on it, and they mine for gold and copper, silver, and, precious metals and rare earth minerals, and all kind of good stuff, and coal. And well, see, they lease the land to these big companies and let them go in there and extract the minerals out, and the company pays a exorbitant, and I do mean exorbitant, lease on those properties. Called mineral leases. Like down here where I live, we got all these oil wells right off the coast, and see, they have to pay the government for those leases. That money is supposed to be given to the American people, but see, what they do is they put it in interest-bearing accounts. They put it in interest-bearing accounts, and they, for all intents and purposes, act like that money don't exist. So you have these cities going bankrupt saying, well, there just ain't enough money in the budget to pay for y'all's pensions. All you firemen that risked your life all these years in police, we ain't got the money to pay your pension. Even though we cut that money out of your paycheck and supposedly invested it at interest, there should be more than enough money to pay that pension with money left over. See, that's how investments work. And the reason there ain't is because they've been stealing that money and spending it on other things. But see, just because there ain't enough money in the budget to pay it don't mean they don't have the money, because they do. But guess what they do with that money? they invested with BlackRock and Vanguard and State Street. And then State Street, BlackRock, and Vanguard goes out and buys Corporation X. They own that corporation. Corporations like Google, corporations like Viacom. Yeah, all these big corporations, guess who owns them? We do. Our money was taken and invested by these hedge funds. But see, the government doesn't consider that our money. No, sir. They consider it their money. That's why I almost ran to be the tax commissioner in my county when I was younger. Once I figured all this out, go to taking a look at what your tax commissioner makes, or whatever they call it wherever you live, revenue commission, tax commission, whatever. I think the average is something like $800,000 a year. The average tax commissioner wins by less than 100 votes. Yeah. And they get to decide where that money is dished out and doled out. And they used to have to print what was called a comprehensive annual financial report to report on those earnings. And you could go to your city hall and tell them you wanted a copy of it and pay like 10 or 12 bucks, and they had to give it to you. Well, a fellow named Alex Jones started making that famous a few years back in the early 2000s. So they actually stopped, in violation of the law, they stopped making them available. And then when people went to complaining about it, well, they would put one out about every 3 or 4 years, but it gave you 10, 15-year-old numbers. Now, what kind of government do you have when the government owns the corporations and the corporations enforce government policy and the government gives them corporate welfare? I can tell you what it's called. It's called fascism. A lot of people like to say we have an oligarchy, but that's not true. What we have is fascism. You know, the man that coined the phrase fascism said it would be more rightly called corporatism. That's what we're dealing with. If the American people was to find out the truth about what I'm telling you right now, like George Bush said, this is a direct quote from him. If the American people found out what we've actually done to them, they would hang us before morning. That's what they're afraid of. And everybody needs to start looking into what I'm telling you. I'm not going to do it all for you. I'm going to make a video here before long that does a quick and dirty explanation. But we need to understand the reason those corporate news agencies are saying the things they're saying is because the government owns them. They own them outright. And they're being paid handsomely to say it. And on top of that, Obama signed the NDAA that repealed the Smith-Mundt Act. They call it modernizing it, where it made it legal for American taxpayer funds to be used to pay for propaganda, to be foisted upon the American people as news. And then he gave billions of dollars to the State Department to see to it that it happened. And that's why the news media went crazy right there at the end of Obama's tenure. And you ain't heard nothing true out of the media since. They were starting to kind of cover their bases a little bit because they was afraid Trump was going to win. But now they went off the deep end again, and they decided to just go the whole way in the bag, I guess. At least there's a couple of them that ain't. But I'm telling you, everything out of these people is lies, misdirections, and it's on purpose. It's not an accident. They're not just some kind of ideologue. No, they're being paid to do it. And now they realize they're in deep trouble if he does get in. They're afraid now. And that's why they wig out when Trump says the enemy within. And talking about the enemy of the people is the press. They are the enemy of the people. They just are. Think on that one. Let me know what you think about that in the comments.